Hey, Cubs fans, and welcome to Cubs on Tap Live. We have the whole crew tonight. This is the first time that we've had the whole crew together. Very excited about this one. I am Ron Luce. I am joined tonight by Cody, Joe, and Juice. Gentlemen, what's up? We have Cubs baseball in less than 48 hours at this point.
I'm pumped. I am jacked up. Spring was in the air today. This is typical Cubs, though, right? We got a nice 65-degree day today. Tomorrow is going to be touching about 60. And then Thursday will be 38 degrees. And then the rest of the weekend, fantastic.
Magic.
Bring out those Jorge Soler headgear.
Javi does it too. I don't know if he still does it. I know in the beginning of the years, it was rookie year and everything. He would do that. No, I'm actually going to the game. Not this week, but next Monday.
Nice.
Brewers.
I'm going to that too.
Nice.
Monday
we'll
night,
have to meet up.
6:40?
Yeah, 6:40. Yeah.
I just got tickets today.
Yeah, so hoping I guess I'm going to possibly see Alzolay pitch. So that'll be great. Really excited about that. So
Trevor Williams, actually.
Whatever. It doesn't matter. Just the fact that we get to go back to Wrigley and I paid $25 for each ticket that I bought. I bought 2 tickets, $25. That's like the cheapest Cubs ticket I've bought in at least 6 years, at least. So it was pretty exciting. I'm in like the 300 section. Baseball. So
gotta love April baseball.
Yeah, that's like the best thing about April. If there's anything besides like the weather, it's like the tickets are usually cheaper because it's usually colder. So, but according to the forecast, like it's supposed to be like 60s, 70s next Monday night.
Twice as warm as opening day.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. It's supposed to be super nice. I actually got really lucky. So one of my best friends, my buddy Zach, landed tickets for Saturday. So him and I are going when they play the Pirates. Get to see Jake pitch. Very excited about that. And yeah, it's supposed to be like 63 and sunny, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait to walk into ring. I've already warned him. I said I might cry. I might cry tears of joy.
I am demanding, Ron. I am demanding that you log into our new Instagram account and log your entire day on the story from our Instagram account because we need that content.
That's in your contract, Ron. You just have to do it. So
I'm here for it, man. I will story everything from me crying as I walk in underneath the marquee to me getting my first hot dog that I will probably consume within 5 minutes.
How many you having, by the way, too? I know you're a big hot dog eater.
Dude, I lost a lot of weight. I can't
eat
like I used to. It's bad. Like I get full after like a slice of pizza now. I think
awful. It's still in you though. I think hot dogs are just like
I've seen food. You, man. It hasn't been a year. I've seen you eat a lot of hot dogs, man.
Now, Ron, you strike me as a guy who wears shorts on a 65-degree day.
I normally would, but again, now that I've lost the weight, I get cold real easy, and I'm that guy now. So I will probably be wearing
body heat anymore.
Yeah, I'll be probably wearing jeans and like a quarter zip with like a jersey over it. I think on Saturday is going to be the move. That way, if I get hot, I can take the quarter zip off, and just and let the guns breathe a little, or what's left of the guns nowadays. But yeah, and then just pray to God that I don't sweat because I'm wearing jeans. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, no, absolutely, totally was that guy for the longest time. Like 50 degrees in the short. I mean, in fairness, I'm wearing shorts right now, but I'm also in the house, and it's a pleasant 67 degrees in my house, not 63 with a wind off the lake and potentially being in some shade. And I'm it's bad, dude. I used to pride myself as that guy that was like, yeah, I'm rocking shorts. It's 60 degrees. Let's go. And now I'm like, bro, it's 60 and I need a hoodie and some jeans because I'm cold. Yeah, it's a little nippy.
They call that, Ron? Getting old.
That too. That's what happens.
And maturing too. You hit a certain age and it's like, wear some pants.
Hell yeah. Hey, yeah. I just hit the downslope of on the other side of 25 heading to 30 on Saturday. So here we go. Peace. Yeah, 26
hey, Ron,
now.
Fuck you. How about that?
You're pretty much dead.
It's bad. But guys, I mean, while we're sitting here, obviously, I want to remind everybody that Cubs on Tap is the official Cubs podcast of the On Tap Sports Network. Want to encourage everybody, go check us out, www.ontapsportsnet.com and at On Tap Sportsnet on all social media platforms. But gentlemen, we have a lot of Cubs news to actually talk about, which I think we can all attest to this over the last, 3 episodes that each of us have kind of rotated on. There hasn't been much to talk about. We actually have something of substance to discuss tonight. And I think a really good starting point, obviously the spring is over and there were a ton of roster moves that I think we'll definitely need to touch on at some point this evening. But the big news revolves this guy and how egregiously lowballed he was by the Chicago Cubs. With that, I will just turn it over to you guys and let you guys just unload on this one.
I want to go last. Cody. And I want to go.
You want to go last?
I want to go last. I want to hear what you guys got to say first, and then I'll go.
I was talking to our boy, the Dom, director of morale for the Cubs, and when guys like me and him, who are always really positive, can't spin this in any positive way, because we want to be the best fans we could be and all that kind of good stuff. But you also have to be honest and hold the front office and ownership accountable, because it's a slap in the face to Anthony Rizzo. The guy has been the perfect face of your franchise, the epitome of consistency. I mean, take away last year's 60-game season, which he was starting to hit much better toward the end, because Anthony, the one knock on him, I guess you could say, is he's a slow starter. He's always been a slow starter every year of his career. But at the end of the season, you got an OPS around 900, about 100 runs driven in, base percentage around 400, one of the toughest at-bats in baseball, amazing 2-strike hitter, an approach we would love to teach our children. Choke up on the bat, with 2-strike. Everything about him. The man, I don't have daughters, and he's happily married, but, maybe I'll have a daughter at the same time he has his first son, and they could be together, because I would he's the guy you want your daughter to marry, or son. You know what I mean? We're all inclusive here on Tap. And for them to go first 460 and then 570, that is ridiculous, because it's a pay cut. He's making 16.5 this year. A pay cut is embarrassing. I could see them saying, all right, let's go 5 years, 18 million. It's a raise, given what's, the market. Fine. I understand that. But still, that's a starting point, though. 518 would have been a starting point. Then you go up to 520, and then he probably signs on the dotted line, because I don't think he's greedy. There's nothing about it. Also, the man's so amazing. If you overpay him, he's just probably going to give it away to charity anyway. He should never. If I were him, he's probably thinking, I should have kept that ball. I could have. How much do you guys think, not to deviate from the main talking point here, but how much do you think the Game 7 last out would have raffled off for?
Oh, I don't even want to know. Easily maybe
history, I bet.
I'll tell you what, we wouldn't be in that bidding.
No. We wouldn't even be in the starting bidding.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have started the bidding at 6 figures, and it probably would have been 7 and 8 figures within minutes.
Well, Juice tells me how upset he is. I'm going to Google what the Bartman ball went for, just to get into that baseline of what we think the Game 7 ball could have gone for.
Yeah, I mean, looking at obviously, Joe, you said with the pay cut and all that, and I think this is a pure situation where the fans and the outrage that happens on Twitter and in social media actually pushes this deal through. I think it's a matter of time before it's a good move by the agent. I think that, putting these numbers out there and making it known that, this is what this franchise is trying to do was a great move by him, because essentially I think what this does is it gets Cubs fans to tweet at the account. It gets negative publicity for the team. And I think at that point, that 5 for 100, like you said, I think is the number that they're both looking for. I think that's I don't want to say that this is like a start of negotiations, but I got to figure that there's a lot of this that goes on, right? I mean, I would imagine that the low ball always begins with the franchise, but it's just a matter that we know what they were offered, So I think that they always had, the same meeting point. So just do it now that you've pretty much made it known that you're trying to lowball them. I think the agent now kind of forces, the front office's hand a little quicker than maybe they wanted to. Maybe this is a type of deal that they tried to go over, and just to get Anthony to sign on the dotted line, making him, feel a little pressure towards like you said, he's a slow starter. Maybe that's the part of the season that, it goes on to where he's batting 190 and he panics, but that's not who he is. I think that that's just a weak ploy by the front office anyway. But I think that I think that with all this negative publicity that you're getting out of this, it's just a matter of time before these two meet in the middle. They both want to have each other on the team for the future. They both want to be here. So figure it out. I think it's obviously a whole group of things that have happened in the past with this whole Cubs front office and the ownership that has made us really frustrated. So I think that also kind of adds into it. It's been like a kick in the mouth to us, and now now we're going to kick our own player in the mouth who deserves this extension. And I think that this is just a small bump in the road, but I do think they get a deal done. I think eventually, because they both want to be here and they both want the same thing.
Yeah. No, I agree. Cody, I know you said you wanted to go last, so I'll just jump in real quick because I just want to share.
Go ahead, man.
I agree with Juice. I really like that what you brought up about the agent, kind of putting some pressure on the team a little bit. And it saddens me a little bit because I know the Cubs can afford it. I think that's what makes me upset, and I've seen a lot of it. Various accounts. Admittedly, I can't recall the exact accounts that were tweeting it over the last few days, but. They said, you know what, if this becomes consistent, and I think this is a whole nother topic that we could do a whole podcast on, so I don't want to dive too deep into it, but if this becomes consistent in terms of where they're starting the extension talks with all of these guys, because let's not forget Baez and Bryant also need deals. Willie's coming up soon. Hap should be a part of that conversation based on what he's done and kind of the player that he's kind of evolving into, really becoming a fan favorite, obviously not only on the field, but off the field as well. That is terrifying because that means the Cubs are operating like a middle market team. And that is super, super scary if we're being entirely honest here. And hopefully they don't do that. Hopefully, maybe it was just them saying kind of like, spin zone it a little bit. Hey, you start off cold. Maybe we could get you to take a pay cut because we know you want to be here, and set that kind of baseline. To me, I think a very fair contract is something between 5 for 100 or 5 and 110. I think that's very reasonable. You give them 20 to 22 million a year over 5 years. Maybe you do a 6th-year option where it's a mutual option where both sides have to agree to it to do it. Maybe then it's like a $10 million buyout or it's like an $18 million 1-year contract, essentially. You do something like that to give him an option. That way, if he trends well, if he ages well, maybe he ages like fine wine. He's Anthony Rizzo. Who knows? Then you can give him that 6th year, and it's like, oh, okay, you can make a little more extra money at the end that maybe admittedly even he was thinking like, hey, maybe that isn't money that I was going to get. So I do agree, though, with Juice. I do think ultimately they get a deal done. I think it'll be good even if they let the season play out a little bit, because if fans do start to return at a rapid clip, maybe it goes from 20 to 40 pretty quickly in the season to maybe even 50, 60, 70, hopefully 100% maybe even by August, which would be awesome. I know that might be a pipe dream, but we'll see. Then all of a sudden, maybe the Cubs see that cash coming in and they go, okay, you know what, Anthony, we screwed you. That's on us. We'll take the blame. We'll admit my bad. Here's your 9-figure contract that you want. Both sides shake hands. They love each other. They, kisses on the cheeks, hug it out, whatever you got to do and get that deal done. Because honest to God, if I see Anthony Rizzo in any other uniform than the Cubs, and especially if he goes to the Marlins, Cody, I know you and I remember that one.
Cody wants to tee off on.
Yeah, talking about that one.
Big Joe 28.
What up, Big Joe 28?
What up? What up?
Big Joe, what up? What up?
Like if he goes to the Marlins and Marty was right, I'm going to be pissed at Marty for predicting that bullshit. But I can't envision Anthony Rizzo anywhere else. So I'm hoping they get a deal done, and maybe it's good. Honest to God, maybe it's good that the front office and these guys don't talk extensions during the season. They just let the season play out and then say, hey, as soon as the year's done, wherever we finish, let's go ahead and get right to the table and try and hash this thing out and get it done. But Cody, the floor is yours.
God, I feel like I'm in a spotlight now. No, I mean, I guess I got a little bit of a spin zone in a sense because, listen, everything Joe and Juice said, I feel the exact same. Like, yeah, it was a low ball deal to Rizzo, the guy that like he's like literally our generation's Mr. Cub. Like he deserves better than that. Blah blah blah. But my thing is when the news dropped, and whether it's a rumor or not, I know it was Michael Cerami who broke the news, I believe. So at least about the 5-year, $70 million. And again, he's not a guy who breaks news. So again, he's a nice guy. I've actually met him. Nice guy. But again, he's not the biggest source.
Well, he broke the 460.
Did he break the 460?
Was by a few other sources.
Okay. My mistake.
That's what I just wanted to clarify.
Either way. My thing is the Cubs and this is the Cubs' fault. Like, they've put themselves in this situation where, people right now we're talking about, why haven't we extended Anthony Rizzo? Well, we've been saying the same thing about Javier Baez and Chris Bryant for like 2 years now, and they've put themselves in this position where it's just completely impossible for them to get an extension done for all three of them, let alone one of them. And for Rizzo, my thinking is the reason that they gave that kind of offer is exactly kind of like what you said. Like, they know he wants to be here. So I just don't like, I think that's why they sent it. But I think that they took that with for granted, I think, a little bit. And they thought that he would just take whatever they threw out there, considering he's obviously been underpaid his entire tenure with the Cubs. 15-60. I don't even think he was making 10 mil. I know it was an elevator contract and he was making 16 million last year or whatever it was, but still severely underpaid. But I guess my spin zone is just, with everything that's happened over the last year and a half, whatever, I'm so fucking tired of fans not knowing how to fucking decide what side they want to be on. Every fucking thing is, the Ricketts. And if they do something right, then the fans flip. And it pisses me off, because I just want people to pick one goddamn side and stick to it. Because everyone's blaming Ricketts for this lowball offer. Who fucking actually knows what it actually is? Again, it might have been that they just really thought that maybe he would take that offer. I don't know. So I don't know. It's just, to me, it's just all a big mess, and it's the Cubs' fault that they're in this position, because they should have gave the extensions earlier. Whatever. Maybe it would have happened in 2020. Maybe in if the pandemic didn't happen and they had a full season. Again, and I think on this show, I'm always blaming the pandemic for a lot of things, and then we shouldn't be, considering it's the Cubs and they're a big market team and they have all this goddamn money, no matter what fucking Ricketts says in his biblical losses, whatever. But the Cubs aren't the only team that's acting like this. And I'm not just talking about small market teams. Big market teams are doing this too. So I'm trying to look at it from a objective situation. I think there's other things that the Cubs have done wrong that are honestly a bigger problem, and I'm sure we'll talk about it. Nico Horner, I think, is a bigger issue, I think, with that situation. But I'm kind of with Juice. I think they're going to get the deal done. It's just the way that this news came out and everything. It's just annoying how it is. And then, like I said,
no, it's more bad PR. It's more bad PR, more stupid blunders that just look poorly on the franchise from an outsider's perspective for, potential free agents down the road and everything like that. If you're not going to take care of this guy, right? I'm hoping, like you said, this is something that forces their hand, and hopefully they meet his exact dollar sign, just because they realize how stupid they were in the beginning. You know what I mean? Like a husband who does something dumb. It's sure, we could go to that restaurant and hang out with your friends, but you got to do it, right? And that's what I'm hoping is the case. Hopefully on opening day morning, we wake up to the biggest April Fool's joke ever, and it's Anthony being like, I was just playing with you. We signed a deal a week ago. We're just having some fun. I don't know. You know what I mean? That'd be great. But the thing is, magic. As far as extending all these guys, because I hear a lot of grumblings, and I'm with you too, Cody, be consistent. You know what I mean? I don't care how you're a fan. I'd prefer if people were a certain way. You know what I mean? I like a more positive fan, because it's we're supposed to enjoy the ride too. But be consistent. So many people I saw at the end of last year blow up the whole team, and every time someone left from the team, they were freaking out, going, "We can't lose him. We can't lose them." Well, then who can we lose? I keep hearing how bad this team is and how much they sucked since 2018 from these Twitter fans, and every time there's a change, they're upset. So I'm like, who did you want to stay? Apparently everyone, because and I know it's emotions, but still be consistent. And the thing I'll add though, before, we could talk Nico and all sorts of other stuff, is that as far as like extensions and signing them a couple of years ago, here's what we forget about as fans. These players, and again, I don't know this is just some rumblings. I have no real insider information whatsoever. I really don't. But I did hear this once on the radio from a pretty good source. And it was that when you win a World Series as a young team, all those young players are then like, all right, our biggest goal we achieved. The next goal as a professional athlete is to get paid. We got the ring. Ask any professional athlete, what's your dream? To win a championship. What next? To be set up for freaking life. Because our careers end at any given moment. And I'd like to be able to take care of my family. And I don't know, a lot of these guys get drafted out of high school. So it's, not a whole lot to fall back on. And they want to be set up. They don't want to have to go to freaking Rosemont every year for autograph conventions to make their buck. You know what I'm saying? So that's another thing that's just a different scenario. I hear this a lot when people compare extensions other teams did. I'm like, well, yeah, it's not apples to oranges.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point. No one talks about that enough, I think. And again, that doesn't take away from the fact that the front office, including Theo and Ricketts and them, Ricketts being cheap, front office not getting extensions done. But the fact that we really haven't heard of like a number. Rizzo is like the first guy that we've really heard any kind of number. Bryant and Baez, like we've been estimating numbers for years. People, for some reason, still think Chris Bryant wants $250 million. He said that he doesn't, or that he's willing to at least listen to other offers, I guess. And again, we just because it's what we're supposed to do, but we sit here and speculate about what are we actually going to pay the guy. I mean, again, like this is like the real first time that we've really seen a number thrown out there and then watch the internet react. And I'm just so glad that Joe understands where I'm coming from when it comes to like the consistency thing. Cause it's so fucking pisses me.
And I think too, guys, that like we forget too, that there's two sides to this story as well. Like there's the player and the agent who are trying to drive up the price. And there's obviously the owner who's trying to dive bomb the price. So who knows what's true? I think that's the hardest point for all this news coming out. I mean, in a hypothetical world, Anthony could have tweeted this out or leaked this out to somebody, and that's not even close to the number the Cubs actually offered, just to drive up the price and create bad press. Do I think he'd do that? No, but in some situations, I think there's some players who would, and some agents who would go that route as well. But I think too, like, talking about, Ron, you were talking earlier about the 6-year option. I don't know how you guys feel, but I think the NL is going to end up getting a DH too in the next couple of years. So who's to say that Anthony's, numbers at the end of his career don't match up to, him being the DH for the future, and I think that's something that if we wanted to space this contract out, that's what you could do is add that 6th year and then just bank on the fact that, there's going to be a DH in the NL. Cause I think all of us pretty much agree by that, reaction that there's going to be. So I think that, bad press, who knows what's true, but I think in the end, both sides want to be here. So figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And Joe, you keep alluding to it all the time, right? That the player agreement is up after the 2021 season. There could be a strike in the 2022 season. I think we see the DH as soon as 2022. I really do. Yeah. I think that becomes something that maybe gets built into the next CBA agreement with the Players Association and the league. They say, hey, you know what? We want more offense because we want guys to have better numbers and get paid more. I mean, why not? If you can, if you're an NL player for your entire career and you have the opportunity to get paid by, the whole league instead of half the league, if you're a DH, if you're a DH, like imagine if Nelson Cruz could pick from the entire league instead of picking from just half the league because he's become a professional DH as he enters his 40s.
Yeah, guys, that would be 40 home runs.
Yeah, that'd be huge. Honestly, it would set up perfectly for my dream scenario, which would be the DH comes back to the NL and Nicholas Castellanos returns to the Cubs and he's their everyday DH. And I'm a really happy human being then. And then I get exactly what I want. So guess what? I'm here for it. Sign me the hell up. The jersey's sitting in my closet, folks. If you don't believe me, I'll go and whip it out and I'll show it on this live because I have a Nicholas Castellanos Cubs jersey in my closet right now. So I am all for the DH in 2022. But no, I think that's a great point. Just like, baseball's trending in that direction. They want more offense. They want more runs. They want more of the big plays because in a sport that historically was a very slower paced game in comparison to other sports, hockey, baseball, football, or excuse me, basketball, football, they want to catch up. They want to be attractive to other fans. And yes, there's some comments out there like Theo, Cody, you shared that with us today. He said, he's like, I don't want to, make baseball, more or less essentially said, he's like, I don't want it to be like a 10-9 every single game. Sure. No, of course not. Because that would get boring after a while too. But at the same time, you still want that excitement. And I think the DH kind of brings that excitement because now instead of, eight batters and an easy out in most scenarios. Obviously, guys like Jake and Bumgarner and so on and so forth are pretty good hitters for pitchers, but Zambrano back in the day as well. But you bring in a true ninth hitter, all of a sudden that completely changes the dynamic of the ball game. That completely changes how you pitch a team. That completely changes roster outlooks. All of a sudden now, again, like we just said, Nelson Cruz can sign with the other 29 teams in the major leagues or the other however many teams in the major leagues instead of just half the league because of the AL. Same goes for guys like, I think eventually former Cubs prospect Eloy Jimenez becomes in that conversation. I think a guy like Nicholas Castellanos might enter that conversation. Like all of a sudden it allows, and it just allows, to me, it allows for more spaces for professional hitters, guys that are true dominant hitters. Now, all of a sudden, if you're the Cubs and you have 4 dominant hitting outfielders, if you have J.Hay, Happ, Jock Peterson, let's say, signs an extension with the team, and you do get another power bat, I'm not going to say Castellanos because I know I'm going to beat that drum till it doesn't happen. But, let's say they get another power bat that's an outfielder. If you have that DH, all of a sudden, all 4 of those guys can contribute in your lineup every day instead of just 3 of them. You're not playing that chess game of having to rotate pieces and guys maybe only playing 2/3 of a season because of that. And I think that might do a lot for baseball just in terms of, you're going to see a little uptick in offense. But all of a sudden now all these, maybe all of a sudden now teams are more willing to pay a guy that's just a dominant bat because, God forbid he's in the outfield. He can play the DH, 4 out of every 6 games every week.
Yeah.
So
no, you hit it on the nail there, man. I feel like we've kind of transitioned to a whole nother thing, but I mean, I think Theo being in there is good for baseball as much as there's so much bad when it comes to Rob Manfred and everything. Like I just, hopefully, they can come up with some changes here in the next couple of years and set things on the right path. Cause I remember a time where, these contracts and paying players wasn't so hard. Like the Albert Pujols contract was only 10 years ago. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like and
Rizzo's not asking for a Pujols contract where you're
I know.
Christ, because that was a bad contract for Anaheim, obviously.
Oh, obviously, But
St. Louis fans got over it fairly quickly.
Yeah, that's because
or maybe they didn't. I don't really talk to Cardinals fans very much.
You're not missing out. They suck.
I'm going to be actually headlining the St. Louis Funny Bone April 8th through 10th. No lie. So if you're a Cardinal fan listening, check me out at the Funny Bone. But dude, I mean, Chris Brown's in the chat talking about Rob Manfred being it's just a piece of metal. Yeah, Rob Manfred sucks. Nobody's a fan of that, guys. Hopefully Theo supersedes him and takes over for him because that's the direction everyone wants. Because he's such a smart guy and he seems to have his fingers on the pulse of the culture of what fans want and that sort of thing. The extension thing is interesting too. If I could just add on that one more time and then we could shift into, Bodie, Nico, Sogard, that whole thing. Rizzo's having a good spring too, Bryant and Baez, as much as I love those guys and still believe in them and still have faith in them, not even that, Ron. You kind of give a so-so. They've had a terrible spring. They're both 500 OPSs, 581 and 580 something. That's awful. Like if they're continuing their horrible 2020, and I don't know if it's because they're thinking too much about it. But then again, it is spring training. I try not to put too much on that. Normally, you wouldn't. The only time you could look at spring training is like a guy like Nico to see if he's turning a corner because you're curious. Or if you're looking for someone to rebound, like Trevor Williams on the pitching side of things has looked fantastic, So therefore, oh, cool, it's excitement. Again, it's still spring, but that's still something you look for because it's a step in the right direction. KB and Javi are coming off of woeful seasons, and you're looking for a rebound just to kind of be like, all right, they're the same old guy. 2020 is in their rear view. They're looking forward, and I'm hoping that's what happened. I'm hoping getting into Chicago in front of the Wrigley faithful, roar the crowd, it gets them there and where they need to be. I just think that's why this bad press over the Rizzo thing respect is even more annoying because there's no way that's not going up and down the clubhouse. There's no way that's not sending just bad vibes throughout. Ian Happ had to go to arbitration over $500,000 or something stupid when he had a great year last year. There's just been a lot of John Lester basically saying, I'll sign a blank contract. Pay me $4 million next year if you can't afford it this year. And that not getting done. And then them realizing it was bad karma. So maybe that's where you're right, Juice. They seem to be answering some of these blunders being like, oh shit, let's go get Jake then, Yep. Although I think Jake has more in the tank than Lester, who I love to death, but that's just being realistic. So yeah, it's an interesting thing.
Yeah. No, well said, boys. And Joe and Cody, you guys have both mentioned it. I think this is a perfect time to start kind of transitioning into some of those kind of spring training wrap-ups. And I think the biggest thing is the roster moves that were announced. As mentioned, Bodie seems to be the starting second baseman as of now. Ross very pleased with his spring so far, and they're willing to give him a chance at second base to be the everyday guy. Sogard, as you mentioned, did make the team. His contract was selected, which then meant Nico is sent down, so he will report to the alternate site, which based on reports, Brian Smith, friend of the show, Mr. Cubs Prospects, he has mentioned it seems to be South Bend for now. Even though obviously Arizona would make sense, but it seems to be South Bend until their season gets going. And then other notable names to make the roster, maybe guys that you guys can touch on. Obviously the Nico Bodie Sogard situation is certainly the biggest of all this, but Matt Duffy, kind of the do-it-all infielder, also made the team, as well as Rex Brothers. So another left-hander making the bullpen. As well. I know, right? Big news there.
I'm looking at Juice's face whenever we're talking about Rex fucking Brothers, bro.
Rex Brothers. But big also news too that I did not include in our rundown, and that's on me. But also, as you mentioned, Cody, you kind of alluded to it earlier, Adbert Alzolay making the rotation. I think that's huge because there was a lot of speculation that he might have been sent down. Cody and Juice, I know we talked on the last episode about innings pitched and how, it was looking like, based on the innings pitched, that it was going to be Kyle, Jake, Zach, Trevor, Alec Mills. Instead, Alzolay getting the nod over Mills. So, gentlemen, I will turn it over to you guys to get your thoughts. But I know the second base conversation obviously is going to dominate this episode, which I think it rightfully should. It's probably the most controversial news of the cycle so far. But I'll turn it over to you guys, and I'll let you guys roll with whatever you got to do.
I want to go first this time.
Go for it, Cody.
You Juice.
So, okay. We talked about on Skies Falling on Monday's episode, whatever.
Hold on, Cody. Let me stop you right there. For those that do enjoy Cubs on Tap, if you enjoy all of Chicago sports, Skies Falling podcast, it is a member of the On Tap Sports Network. Go ahead and make sure you check them out. Okay, Cody, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Anyway.
Thanks, Pat.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. Anyway, so we talked about that. And so from one perspective, for me, Nico had a great spring, and I think he deserved to make the roster. But this kind of goes back to the whole thing with Rizzo. Again, it's kind of like I can't fault the Cubs for doing what they had to do to get an extra year of control. I didn't fault them in 2015. I'm not going to fault them now. But I also don't think the situation is the same as Chris Bryant's, just because Chris Bryant and Nico Hoerner aren't the same fucking player. Nowhere near the hype that Chris Bryant had as he was coming up. Chris Bryant was like the best minor league player in 2014. Nico Hoerner, late first round pick. We've seen flashes of him being really good. Great defensive player, obviously. That's like the one thing that you're going to get out of him is great defense. And if there's anything to argue about the entire situation outside of the fact that he hit really well in his 37 plate appearances in the spring, you were going to have better defense out of him than Eric Sogard and probably David Bodie, even though David Bodie's not a bad defensive player. But I think David Bodie has thrived better in his utility role that he's basically had ever since Ben Zobrist left. Anyway, my thinking is basically I just again, I just can't. I'm tired of people fucking pick a fucking side. Again, pick a fucking side. And I'm on this situation, I'm on the side of the Cubs because like they just gotta do what they gotta do, and they got bigger fucking problems, like we just been talking about, these contract extensions. And so it sucks. I wish that they could just bring him, like keep him up. But that's an MLB thing, man. That's an MLB thing. Yeah, that's all I really got. It's just that and Eric Sogar, his wife's going off on fucking Instagram. That's about a bunch of stuff that I don't really want to say, but I'm already done with Eric Sogar. So I'm hoping after these 36 days, they cut him, Nico, Bodie, let's go. But whatever.
Hey, Juice, I wanted you to go second, but you disappeared for a little bit, and you might have missed a chunk of what
I'm back, man. No, I'm good, though. I can go.
Okay.
No, just looking at this whole Nico situation, I think what we need to start looking at, too, is how much these games matter in the beginning, getting off to a good start. You know, I love David Bodie, and I know they've paid David Bodie. But if Nico's the guy to help you win ball games, he needs to be out there. What the whole idea of this whole season is to win baseball games. And I think the lineup's better with Nico. And I understand the whole service time stuff. And I get that, you know, after 36 days, he'll probably be up. But what happens within those 36 days if the Cubs get off to a horrible start? You know, that I would hate to miss the playoffs because, you know, he wasn't up in early April. You know, I think that's one thing that we need to look at. You know, going back to
fair point
to like Albert Alzolay, I think that it's a great move putting him in the rotation just strictly because if you look at where this Cubs rotation is, you need to let guys who are projectable pitch. And I understand that like Alec Mills threw a no-hitter. He looked really good last year, but I truly believe that if the Cubs are going to be successful, they're going to need arms like Albert Alzolay and Braylon Marquez to progress in their careers and to be staples in this rotation. And what better time than now? You know, let the guy get out there, make some starts, you know, show what he can do. And I think that if you don't and you kind of let him hang out behind a guy like Alec Mills, who we like and obviously he's a good pitcher. He had a great year last year, but can you really go off of, you know, the weird year that 2021 or 2020 was? You know, it's a small sample size. It's something that when you really look at Adbert, I think he just has the stuff. And I truly believe that, you know, that was a good move. But I just really wish that this is obviously I'm glad that they're getting the extra year control. But then again, if they miss the playoffs by a game because he didn't play or something stupid in the beginning of the season, we're all going to be looking back at the same time saying, well, why the hell wasn't he with the team? And I think that that's just something that this organization, it's another box of, you know, another Pandora's box that they've opened and another avenue for us to criticize them about. You know, I mean, what are we really talking about here? You know, I think that at the end of the day, he earned it, and that doesn't send the best message to guys like Nico, who obviously knew going into the season that he was going to have to earn that second base spot, and I think he did. So at the end of the year, or at the end of this whole thing, I hope that this doesn't bite the Cubs in the ass. But with that said, I hope, you know, it opens up a door to that.
Yeah. And Joe, just quickly before you go, just to kind of enhance your point, Juice, because I think you brought up a good point, right? Like you want to win games early in the season. You want to be, you know, getting off to a good start, especially in a year where this division is wide open and really anybody that isn't the Pittsburgh Pirates can win it. 26 games in the month of April the Cubs play. 16 of them are against divisional rivals. That's the Brewers, that is the Pirates, and they play one game against the Reds before that series starts into May. So I think that's worth noting. They play a lot of division games in this month of April. So, Joe.
All right. Well, I was basically going to okay, here's the thing that's really been kind of bothering me. Who told you guys, or who told the world that Nico Horner is being sent down for service time manipulation? Do you guys know who broke that story? Jesse Rogers. It was Jeff but then he wrote in the tweet via Jesse Rogers. Now, I love how everyone just blindly accepted that when just a mere 2 weeks earlier, Cubs Twitter was roasting Jesse Rogers for blatantly quoting Chris Bryant out of context in regards to Chris Bryant having fun on a baseball field. It makes zero sense that this Nico Hoerner situation is service time manipulation. If that were the case, why did they not send him down last fucking year when he couldn't get a base hit? It makes no. Why'd they keep him up for all of 2020 when he wasn't doing anything other than playing good defense and only half the time because Kipnis was getting far more starts? I love Nico. Nico played great this spring, although before the home run yesterday, he was like 4 for his previous 18 or something like that, or 25. He wasn't exactly. He got really hot the first 2 weeks of spring training, then didn't do anything until yesterday's game where he had a 3-run homer. You guys know, Cody and Ron know, especially, we've podcasted. I was all about Nico. Cody, you were, and to your credit, consistently about it, saying Nico needs more at bats at the AAA level. That you were saying that before spring training even started, that you wanted Nico to start at AAA. My thing that's killing me, though, is that David Bodie has a higher OPS during spring training than Nico Hoerner. So David Bodie has out-hit Nico Hoerner in the spring. And I agree with David Ross. David Bodie has done everything you've asked him as a player. And here's really what it is. It's not, I don't buy the service time manipulation bullshit at all. Now, if the Cubs do call him up at exactly 36 days, I will gladly come on this podcast and eat my words. You guys could all talk shit and be like, you're a fucking idiot. Every one of you guys can slam me as hard as you want. That sounded sexual. Didn't mean for it to be. But I'm telling you right now, there is no way they would do that. It makes zero sense because, like you said, Cody, this isn't Chris Bryant, a guy you're worried about paying $25 million in arbitration his last year. Nico is making $500,000 this year, and even if it's 6 years versus 7, he's not breaking your bank. And if he is, then something went crazy well in years 2, 3, 4, and 5 or whatever. He's putting up MVP numbers if that's what you're then worrying about, and that's a problem for another day. I think someone looked at I think Jesse Rogers looked at the freaking going, how many days does he have to stay down? 37? All right, well, maybe that's what they're doing. Because really what they're doing is they're giving Bodie a shot because they want to see, is David Bodie an everyday player on the off chance Chris Bryant is not going to stick around long term. There's no third baseman that's AAA ready that could fill in for Chris Bryant other than David Bodie, right? Look on the free agent market. Unless you're going to sign one of those super expensive shortstops and move them to third base, which who knows, if they extend Javi, they might move him to third base when Ed Howard comes knocking on the door. But right now, not the case. I think what happened was Sogard had a really good spring. As much as people have their problems with his personality and stuff like that, and the anti-vax stuff we just heard of the other day, he had a really, really, really strong spring and looked good at shortstop even. He made some mighty nice plays at shortstop. So it's like, all right, this guy's flexible in the infield as well. Sogard's unexpected play is why Nico got sent down, and they want to see if Bodie's an everyday player. That's really what it comes down to. Because a guy like Sogard, if they cut him, then he's gone. They can't keep him at AAA because he has a free agency opt-out. A lot of these guys, these fringe major league players like that, they'll have a thing where if I don't make the team, I think Shelby Miller has this too, where it's like, if you don't call me up by a certain day. So Shelby Miller is he starting at AAA? Yeah, he is. If they don't call up Shelby Miller by, I think, like third week of April, he gets to opt out and become a free agent. So I'd expect Shelby Miller to get called up as well. I just don't buy the service manipulation. I think there was a thing that was put out there that everyone just jumped on because media controls narrative sometimes, and we all fall victim to being like, oh yeah, I guess that's what he said, so it must be true. And because the Cubs notoriously did it a few years back, I just don't buy it.
One thing that I didn't add is, and I guess maybe led me more to the fact that thinking it was service time a situation, was the fact that the minor league season doesn't start till May. So
that bothers me too, because he's just sitting around.
Right. So he's just going to be at the alternate side, I guess.
But they're playing games though, the alternate site.
Yeah, I guess
Sox,
each
Brewers,
other.
and Cubs are having like official games played between each other.
Really?
I think a fourth team's involved in that. Yeah, they only just announced it like a week ago.
Okay. So I'm not.
That helped me a little bit too.
Okay. But I do think you make a good point there, because I didn't really put that together. I should have, considering Jesse Rogers is Jesse Rogers. No, not to slander him, but whatever.
Who I used to love, and maybe, I don't know, I just feel like maybe it's ESPN going, hey, let's start grabbing some headlines, because he's been doing a lot of clickbaity shit lately. And then when you call him on it, he doubles down on no, it's not. When it's like, dude, clearly
tries to justify it. You're right. Right. No, it's interesting. That's all I can really say is just, the situation is just I just was getting so tired of everyone comparing it to Chris Bryant's situation in 2015, where you could really argue that he could have been called up in 2014. He was like the best minor league baseball player in 2014, and the Cubs didn't call him up because they weren't ready to compete. They knew that they were going to be somewhat competitive in 2015, and they still didn't even bring him up until April 17th or whatever day it was. So Nico Horner's situation is just a lot more. It's just a lot different, and I think that for 36 days or whatever, I think they will be fine. But I do hope that it doesn't hurt his confidence. I hope that this is something that they had talked about with him in advance. We're never going to know.
They might call him up in 2 weeks if Sogard goes 0 for his first 15 or something.
Yeah.
Or if he makes a stink about this getting a vaccine when everyone else on the team is like, we're getting it, so beat it. You know what I mean? You don't know. I just really think they want to see if Bodie could be every day just for insurance if Chris Bryant doesn't want to sign here long term, or knock on wood if Chris Bryant isn't the guy he was last year, which I have all the faith he's going to be back to being at least 2019 Chris Bryant, which is an all-star. I don't know. I just don't buy it, because if you were that concerned with service time with Nico Horner, you would have sent him down in 2020 at any point, especially since he was mostly off the bench. Jason Kipnis was getting the majority of the starts.
Mm-hmm.
Even Vargas was getting playing time in late September over Nico.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there too. And Joe, I think you bring up a good point, right? It was like the news happened, and immediately that was the narrative: is he's going down because of service time. And in fairness, do we really know if it is service time? I agree. I think David Bote did have a nice spring. I think he at least has earned an opportunity to prove himself. I think he's been in the organization long enough. He's shown the flashes. He can play multiple positions. Do I think he's an everyday second baseman? Maybe not. I think he could be a platoon second baseman, though, where, to your point, Joe, he gets his starts at third. He gets his starts in other places. He's going to be that guy for this team. If I remember correctly, too, he's also like the longest locked up player in terms of contract length currently on the team, if I remember that correctly, because he's literally locked up what feels like until the end of time because of his how his contract was.
He's got 2 more years.
Yeah.
Is it really? That's it?
Yeah, it was just a 5-year, $15 million deal.
I'm gonna say, didn't they do it in like 2018?
Isn't there 2 more years where it can be 7? I thought it can extend out. Really? No. I don't know why I thought it was 7, but nonetheless, I mean, but he's a perfect like utility guy, right? Like he is the perfect like Ben Zobrist light for this current like. Rock.
He might hit 7 at the last year, but the total is 15 mil because the AAV hit is just 3 mil.
Okay,
Sorry.
Gotcha. No. I appreciate that clarification, but nonetheless, I think that's a good point though. Like God forbid Chris Bryant is gone, and this is something I'm not tuning my own horn, but I'm gonna precursor this. I'm gonna write an article that's gonna come out tomorrow. God forbid the Cubs suck at the deadline, and Chris Bryant is a trade piece. To your point, Joe, does Bote then become the everyday third baseman? So I think them giving him a shot makes sense. I understand that, and he had a good spring. I agree. Sogard definitely exceeded expectations as well. So those all make sense. But yeah, I agree. I hope for like Cody, I think you put it perfectly. I hope that the plan was communicated to Nico, because as long as it was communicated to him and he doesn't lose that confidence, that's good. Because like I tweeted from the Cubs on Tap account when he did hit that 3-run home run, that looked like a pissed off swing. I mean, he just absolutely got all of that ball and murdered it, which was awesome to see.
Ron, can I correct something real quick, just in case fans listening be like, Joe was wrong? The stats I was looking at did not count the last game of Nico hitting that 3-run homer. The 3-run homer gave Nico the edge in the second base battle for OPS. But when the decision was made, when they announced that Bote was the starter, he had the highest on-base plus slugging of the 3 second basemen. Sogard was second. Sogard and Nico were actually tied. I could read it right now. I got the Cubs spring training stats. Nico finished, again, at the time, Bote's was higher. Nico finished with a 1055 OPS, 1.055. And right behind him for the team, actually, hold on. Jock Peterson was first of everyday guys, Contreras, Horner, then Sogard. Sogard had 1.005, and then David Bote had a 990 OPS. All of those are freakishly high OPSs. It's spring training, so obviously small sample size, and sometimes you're facing some real bum pitchers. But I just wanted to clarify that. in case we got any people being like, well, Joe said this and he was full of shit,
Joe with the classic CYA. You got to cover your ass, and I respect it wholeheartedly. But no, I mean, you like I said, Joe. I think you really did bring up a lot of good points, though. I think David Bodie's earned it too, like as well. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Nico didn't earn an opportunity.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
he certainly did. But so did David Bodie. I mean, David Bodie had a good spring. He consistently puts in the work. He's he's a consistent player. I think that's the nice thing about. And apparently, he's the most clutch player on the roster because for whatever godforsaken fucking reason, men are on base. David Bodie somehow finds a way to get a hit, but God forbid no one's on base. He gets out. It happens. Some guys live for the big moment, and apparently David Bodie lives for the big moment. But there's certainly a lot to really digest with, and it's going to be an interesting April. I really do think that. I think as all of us have kind of alluded to, it's going to be interesting to see how the team really handles this situation. To Joe's point, Eric Sogard could go 0 for 15 to start the season and maybe not mesh with the clubhouse, and all of a sudden, you're gone, big pimp. We'll see you later. Hey, Nico, come on back, buddy. We missed you. And maybe him and David Bodie kind of have a platoon situation, or maybe they do give. I know the reports are Chris isn't going to play the outfield much, but hey, shit changes. God forbid there's an injury or something. Maybe Chris Bryant's in the outfield, 3 days a week or something like that. Who knows?
Well, Jock's looked good against lefties this last
couple
times up. So
he sure has. God,
I'm starting to get on the wagon. Not yet. I'm not there yet, man. But I'm creeping.
I hope to God he keeps that up. And obviously his numbers in spring training over a length of the season, if he does that, he's an NL MVP. But God, if he can do even like 2/3 of that, oh my goodness.
The Cubs will earn back some some credit to the front office for signing him for the contract he did. If they make the playoffs and he's one of their top players, because they got a lot of backlash for letting Schwarber go, not paying him, and then watching Washington basically pay him more. So I'm rooting for Jock, no doubt, definitely, and he's got that swag that guys like us like, and I'm hoping. I just spring is spring, and I take it with a grain of salt, man. So
I agree, Cody. Could I respond to? I see in the chat we got Tidwell.
Oh, Marty.
He's asking. I don't know if you see that. Whoever controls those.
Yeah, it's me. Yeah.
He says, "Hey, how do they communicate?" He's saying if it's not a service time thing, how do they communicate to Nico? There was the comment before that, and then he does like a, "Hey, pal, we want to see if the other guy who could play your position is an everyday guy." Yeah, I think that's kind of what they're doing. I think they talk to Nico professionally. David Ross straight up said, "This is David Bodie's turn. David Bodie's done everything we've asked of him as an organization. It's David Bodie's turn to see if he's an everyday guy." And what I think happens then is it made the most sense because you have a young guy like Nico. You don't want him to have a bench player mentality. I feel like that kind of hurt Elmore a little bit with his development, where he came up and was immediately a bench guy, where it's like, I was a first round pick. I never really got that everyday shot. So I think they're like, all right, Sogard was more impressive than we thought. He is a bench guy. He's a professional bench player, Eric Sogard. So we send him down, or no, we send you down, Nico. We have Sogard up. And if Sogard and Bodie, say Bodie and Sogard are terrible the first 2 weeks, then Nico comes back up and Nico's every day. I think they tell Nico, look, your future is an everyday player. So we are going to keep you down in the whatever they're calling it, the offsite thing. And you're going to work on some stuff there. You're going to continue the growth we saw in the spring. And if we have a struggle at second base, we're going to bring you back up. And if Bodie runs with it and Bodie's killing it and Sogard's not contributing off the bench, then they bring in Nico to be like, all right, you're going to be our super utility this season. And then, then it gives you more options from a Jed Hoyer standpoint at the end of the season, because I really feel like Rizzo needs to be extended. Again, I would love Javi and KB to be extended, but we have to be realistic of our expectations as Cubs fans right now. We don't want to get hurt. I think they're going to then see who does the best between Javi and KB and sign one of them to an extension. I have a feeling we're not going to get that dream of all three of them being extended with Willie then coming. I mean, it's a pipe dream anyway to just assume we're going to extend all of these guys, especially when you got the guys like Amaya knocking on the door and all these other young prospects that are still a few years away, but they believe in them.
Right. Yeah. And at this point, we don't even know if we want to extend all three, like Rizzo, Bryant, and Baez. Specifically, Baez and Bryant. I know I just said, I take spring training with a grain of salt, but Joe, you also said they haven't looked good, as in Bryant and Baez haven't looked good this spring. And I'm not saying that I needed them to go out there and have an OPS of like 1,000, but I mean, they were not good. So they have a lot to prove. And again and again, I know they should have extended them earlier. That way we wouldn't be in this predicament. And maybe they would have if the pandemic doesn't happen. Maybe they did it. They would have been able to do it last year. I don't know. It is what it is. I don't know. But that's just
what if they extended them and they both have seasons like they did last year?
Right. And then
comes Twitter and they were terrible.
Right. And then fucking Cubs Twitter
idiots,
blows
right?
up at then Cubs Twitter blows up at the front office about doing that. And it's like, just fucking name this fucking episode, Ron. Fucking pick a fucking side. There you go. Like, that's all I want. I want people to pick a fucking side. If you're going to be a fucking Rizzo stan, a Bryant stan, or a fucking Baez stan, you fucking be a stan and don't fucking flip-flop because the rest of the internet's freaking pissed off at the front office or whoever because those guys are sucking. It's just...
Well, we got consistent people like Tin and Chris in our chat room right now.
Yeah, well, that's the other half of it too, guys. I mean, like, this is being a Cub fan, right? This isn't new. I mean, it's a matter of everybody yells at the top of the food chain all the time. Since I've been a Cub fan, this is how it's been. It's been a matter of let's yell at. First, it was let's yell at the Tribune Company. Now it's let's yell at Ricketts for being cheap. I think this is just what the fandom is, and I think it sucks because we us diehards, the guys that are listening here, have to sit here and explain that you have to pick a lane. But I think there's a lot of people who watch this team who just want to yell. They don't understand the game, and this is. I mean, I hate to go into the preconceived notion that Cub fans don't know things about baseball, but there are a lot of people who don't watch the game regularly or understand the ins and outs, and they just yell at the ownership because it's what they grew up on. I think it's just a part of our makeup, our psyche that we've just dealt with all the time. I think a lot of the things too, I think I've just kind of learned to just, kind of look the other way at, but with that said, I don't know. I mean, it's either way, it wasn't a bad decision to move Nico down. If obviously, Joe, you said earlier, that the numbers were very similar. So if Bodie can keep this up and you want to send Nico down to, get AAA to move and work on his game, then it's okay. But I think it's a matter of it's going to be a very, very fluent situation in the beginning of the year because they have so many options to throw out there.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I think that's incredibly well said. And I think that sums all of that up perfectly, right? Like, we kind of just got to wait and see at this point with a lot of these situations with Nico, with the extensions, whatever. There's 162 games ahead of us starting on Thursday. So, there's going to be plenty of baseball that will hopefully answer some of these questions. And speaking of answering questions, gentlemen, I would love to get some thoughts from you guys because as we are recording this, opening day is within 48 hours. I know we're all excited. I cannot wait to just plop on my couch like a fat potato on Thursday afternoon and watch the Cubs play at Wrigley Field for the first time since, September, October of last season, where it actually means something and we should actually give a shit because it's going to actually count as a win or a loss that isn't spring training. So I would really love to kind of toss a couple ideas around, one of which I think a player to watch this season. I think would be kind of fun to hear what you guys have to say. Obviously, just as a thought process here, maybe to help with that, it seems like the opening day lineup is going to be Happ, Contreras, Rizzo, Bryant, Peterson, Baez, and then Hayward and Bodie, and then the pitcher is kind of what it's feeling like it's going to feel out. And then as well, any league-wide predictions or bold predictions I think are always fun. I think this is the time to throw them out there because then come, September when we're recording a Sunday Cubs on Tap with the four of us and your bold prediction looks like absolute dog shit, you can get roasted. Or if it looks awesome, you can get applauded and we can say, hey, good job, guys. Like, nicely done on picking that. So I'll throw it around the horn to you guys. Would love to hear, and again, bold predictions could be, Cubs related, I'm sure people would appreciate it if it's Cubs related. But if you got a league wide prediction too, I think those are always fun. Maybe where like the Cubs finish in the division race. I feel like the NL Central division race is very up for debate too. So I'll turn it over to you guys.
I'll go first.
Yeah. Go for it, Cody.
So came out tonight. I guess the Fangraphs predictions. They have the Brewers winning division at 81 fucking games. That's a fucking joke, bro. Like they're I don't know. Is this a bold prediction? I'll say that whoever wins this damn division is at least gonna win like 85, 86. But Fangraphs just like they have the Brewers at 81, Cardinals 79, Cubs 78. I thought that was just as far as predictions, I thought that was just like terrible for a website that's very highly touted. So I just don't think the division's that bad, guys. I don't know what but I don't think it's
they
that
always
bad.
Go low on those things. You ever notice that the Pacoda and all the like
Pacoda even had them
stuff,
like
they always go way low.
Pacoda had like 3 teams to win at least 80 games in the division when they released theirs out, I thought. So they literally one team, they had the Brewers win 81 and then the rest division below 80. Like, I don't know. I haven't seen that any divisional predictions over, in recent years, at least. I don't know.
They had us winning 78 games in 2019. We won 84. And yet people were like, I guess Pacoda was right. I'm like, they were up by 6 games. And we had Javi Baez miss the whole month, basically. And then Rizzo blew up his foot. And Bryant was banged up toward the end. I think, Bryant missed some time in the stretch and of 2019. He was also like and hurt, then basically. I know Javi missed like the whole last month. That's why Nico got called up in 2019. So and they were still up by 6 games. And yet there was negative fans who were like, oh, they were pretty accurate. What, really? I would love to be in that profession where I could be off by 6. 6 games is a big swing. 78 wins to 84 wins.
Well, they were just negative because the Cubs really shit their pants at the end of that year. Lost 9 games in a row, missed the playoffs. Lost 9 games in a row, and several of them by 1 run. Because as much as I love Joe Madden, got his picture on the wall over there, terrible at handling a bullpen. And when you're missing Javier Baez and Anthony Rizzo in important 1-run games, that's going to hurt your offense. Nico Castellanos and Schwarber were the only guys hitting at that time. Anyhow, though, do you make a prediction there, Cody, or you just were like, fuck Fangraphs? I get basically this entire show I've just been ranting about shitty Cubs Twitter people and I guess Fangraphs. So I don't really have a prediction except for for one player that I'm really looking forward to see, and I think I've been screaming this all spring, is just Alzolay. I think he's gonna be like right. They're starting him in the rotation 4 or 5. I think by the end of the year he's going to be number 1 or number 2, probably number 2 because Kyle Hendricks is Kyle Hendricks. But for me, I think Alzolay is going to open some eyes league wide this year. I've had a rock hard fucking boner for this guy for like a year and a half, man. I've been waiting for his chance. So yeah, I'm ready.
All right, nice. I have a bold prediction. It's actually no, this one's not bold. Cody's gonna get drunk at the Cubs game on Monday. See that happening.
With you though, Joe.
I'll have to see you there, man. I'm in the upper deck, so we'll see how far we are from each other.
Oh yeah, I'm in the 300 section, so you have to find me.
All right, cool, man. I guess I predict as far as I wanted to go with Adbert. You took my fucking Adbert thunder.
Sorry, man.
I think we all wanted to go that route.
Yeah, I predict Craig Kimbrell has a good season. Not great, but like good. You know what I mean? Where at the end of the year, you're like, all right, ERA was 3-something. He saved, he was in the top. I don't know, maybe he saves 90% of the games, or let's say he has 33 saves out of 37 chances. He blows 4. There's one. And then I'm going to go really bold. And then this is kind of my league wide, but it also ties in with the Cubs. So I gave you my bold. Craig Kimbrell is a good year prediction. I think the Cubs are going to win the division. I think the Braves will win the East. I think the Padres win the West.
Wow.
Very close. It's going to come down to the wire. And I think it's going to be because Bauer just won't be able to handle LA press. And I think he's going to it's going to be a different world for Bauer playing outside of the state of Ohio. He's going to put his foot in his mouth enough where just some stuff's going to go wrong for him. They're going to investigate if he's got gripping the ball differently. Don't get me wrong. The Dodgers will still be, beasts in the NL West. And then if I could wrap it up, Zach Davies is going to have a better year than Yu Darvish.
Ooh. I love that. I love that. That is bold. Those are bold. I
like
kind of wish I would have said your stuff instead of just going off of my spiel about Advert. So congrats.
No, that's a good one. I like the Davies one. I honestly, I think
we were rubbing him real nice last week.
Cubs on Tap is now a Zach Davies stand account. You were talking about stand accounts earlier, Cody. I wanted to plug that in there. Cubs on Tap is now a Zach Davies stand account.
I'm ready to just support him for no other reason other than just that he is who he is.
He wears his jersey number is my birthday, so that's good enough for me. The 27th, I'll take 27. That's enough of a reason for me to root for him because God forbid the last guy that wore 27 didn't do it properly. We're not going to.
I also have a Cubs 27 jersey with my last name on the back because it was my wedding date. So I have a Killgallon 27 jersey.
Love that. There you go, Joe. There you go.
Retire that one.
Yeah. Retire that. Juice. I'll let you go ahead next, buddy.
So league wide. I'm going to say home runs are down and compared to 2019. We're talking about the baseball and all that jazz coming back. And I think that with the advances in spin rates and pitch tracks and a lot of these teams doing, these pitch labs, I think that home runs they go down this year. And in terms of the Cubs, I'm going to take a look at the rotation. I'm going to say that the soft tossing Cubs rotation ends up being a top 10 rotation in all baseball.
Oh,
love it.
I like that a lot. I'm a big fan of that. Yep. Yeah, I mean, I can't argue that. I think the Advert one is a good one. I really do think for all those that do remember when we had Brian Smith, again, good friend of the program, happy to give him kudos. He said that Advert is his dark horse pick to win the Rookie of the Year in the NL. So I think that's very in line with kind of our Cubs on Tap predictions as well for what.
Also, if we got people who are listening in here, post your own.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Please
bold
do
predictions for the year. Let's get some fan interaction here.
Marv Benson posted that Titty Sprinkles.
He did.
Oh, that's bold.
This is a bold move.
Titty Sprinkles are very bold. I'll say that.
Thanks, Marv.
Thanks, Marv.
I love that comment. I saw it come through it, and it took every part of my being to not laugh because it.
Well, I was actually waiting for the right time to bring it into
drop it in there.
Yeah.
I like it.
Thanks, Joe, for bringing it up.
Yeah, hey, you can't beat it. Well, so my league wide, I really do think that the home runs one is good, Juice. I really like that one. I think the league wide predictions, I think you're going to see a lot of teams surprise this year. And I know that's a very kind of open statement, but I think you're going to see a lot of the division favorites maybe struggle out the gate a little bit, whether it be injuries. I think injuries are going to be huge this year. I think the teams that truly prepared for injuries this season are going to do the best. So teams that have a lot of good pitching depth, guys that can start. I think the Cubs did a really nice job doing that because of guys like Shelby Miller, obviously having Alec Mills in the bullpen. They have guys that can come in and do spot starts. God forbid there's injuries to the starting five. I think that's going to be real key this year. So I really do, to kind of piggyback off of Joe's point about Bauer, I really do think the Dodgers could slide, quote unquote, a little bit. I think they could give ground to the Padres this year. Yeah, I think they really could. I also think in the East, right? I think the Braves are going to actually have a real bitch of a time with a team like the Mets, who, they've spent some money. They're riding high. They're a bit of a revamped roster. They get some guys back. One of my favorite players in the league, Marcus Stroman, didn't pitch in 2020 because of COVID, so he's going to be fresh coming into the season. They still have DeGrom. They still have obviously Syndergaard hurt to start the year, but they still have a lot of really good pieces too to be competitive, I think, in that NL East. So I think injuries this year is going to really throw a lot of teams' plans as that preseason picks. Then you're going to see a lot of shuffling in the division because of maybe key injuries, even going from 60 to 162. I think that's going to play a lot in this. But my player to watch this season really actually is going to be Wilson Contreras. And the reason I say that is I think he had, bless you, Joe. I think he had a really, really, really good spring that kind of went under the radar a little bit. Not from a bad perspective of nobody gave a shit. But I think Jock Peterson did so well in the second base battle, had a lot of scrutiny on it. And even, the starting pitching had a little bit of scrutiny on it. So I think Wilson just had a really nice, calm, good spring. built off of what he kind of started to get back into at that end of that 2020 season. I think he's going to have a really nice year. I think he's going to be a big player to watch because I think he's going to have a 2021 season that convinces the Cubs that they do need to lock him up and extend him again, especially if the DH is an option in the future. He's also a guy that has shown he can play multiple positions. He's played a little bit of first. I'm sure he could play third because that was his natural position when he was signed by the organization. And he's already shown that left field, especially in that 2016 season, is something he can do. But my kind of bold prediction, especially surrounding the Cubs, here's my first bold prediction. It's a little more of a league-wide thing, but I'll focus on the NL Central. I think Nolan Arenado has the worst career season of his entire career.
I sure as hell hope so, Ron. I sure as hell hope so. And I would shit on that city of St. Louis for I swear to God, if St. Louis Cardinals win 79 games, I will be unbearable to that fan base.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh,
and God. I think just part of it too is like a lot of people discredit the Colorado Rockies because they've struggled so much in years, but like there's been a couple of years where they had a really decent like lineup. Preseason optimism will lead to a September ripping out of hair once again. God, I hope you're wrong, Marty. I really do. I really hope you're wrong, buddy. I really do. But I think Arenado's going to struggle because I just don't think he has the same supporting cast. Like Charlie Blackmon to me is a very slept on player in Colorado. I think they've always had very good kind of role players, quote unquote. David Dahl's a name that's come to mind from years past. They've had good guys around him to get on base and help him drive in runs. Like you don't drive in 130 runs for no fucking reason. Look at Chris Bryant just a couple years ago, 2019, I think is a perfect example. He had 29 home runs, and he only had like 70-something RBIs because he was hitting the two-hole. They didn't have a true leadoff hitter, and God forbid Joe would ever let him hit in a spot where he'd have runners on base. He probably would have had 100 RBIs that fucking season. Instead, he only had like 70-something, and everybody's like, he had a sucky year. No, context, people. Pick your lane. Context. Chris had a great year in 2019. If he would have had runners in front of him, he would have had an even better year. So I really do think that I think Arenado's still going to have a good year. Like, I think he's still probably going to find a way to hit 30 home runs and probably drive in like 90 runs. But compared to what he's done in the past in Colorado, and the defense will still be there. I don't think that's going anywhere. But I think compared to the years he's had in Colorado, I think he's going to have an off year. And it's to the casual baseball fan that maybe isn't as like in the weeds. They're going to be like, well, what happened to Nolan Arenado? What the fuck is this? I thought he was such a great player.
They all sound like that too. They all sound like that too.
Yeah, and Joe, you do it better than I do, so I'm going to give you credit where credit is due.
That's my voice I use for everyone.
It's perfect. It works for everybody. But like, and this is a good one too. Cubs win the wild card 84. See, again, Arenado rolled the Central. Tatis Jr. winning MVP, I think, is very legitimately could happen. As long as he stays healthy, I think there's a very good possibility.
He's the favorite. I mean, that's not. I like John Brooks. I appreciate you listening, bud, but that's too easy a call. Was Mike Trout going to have a big year too? Come on, buddy.
Is Mike Trout going to have a big year?
Dude, imagine if Mike Trout had an awful year and like watched baseball freak the fuck out if Mike Trout had a bad year.
Would baseball freak the fuck out though? Because they did such a wonderful job promoting him. I mean, come on. Like, I know
he's
like
the least promoted superstar. Yeah, he's like the least promoted superstar of like any sport. Like
Jesse Rogers would tweet about it so he can get that clickbait going.
Yeah, there you go.
No, but enough Arenado talk, enough Cardinals talk. Fuck that city, fuck that franchise. My bold prediction involving the Cubs is this. I think, and almost, I don't want to say it hurts me to say this, but I think it's gonna stir some shit. I think Wilson Contreras has the best offensive season of any player on the Cubs. I think he has well over 30 bombs. I think he drives in over 100 runs. I think he bats maybe somewhere between 260 and 290. I know it's a little bit of a wide gap, maybe probably closer to 275, 280. And I think he's at least in the top 5 in the MVP conversation in the National League this year. I really think Wilson Contreras is primed for a big year. He's 1 year out from being in his last official year of control with the team. I think if any player that loves Chicago, it's Wilson Contreras. Yes, obviously Anthony Rizzo is the mecca. But if you take away Anthony Rizzo, to me, Wilson's that guy that has promoted being just in love with the city of Chicago, in love with the Cubs franchise, in love with being here. And I feel like he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder because I feel like a lot of people have given him a lot of shit. He's been hurt, and that's obviously something he can't control. But, look at that 2017 season when he was super hot and then he got hurt and just derailed his year. I mean, realistically, he could have been in the MVP race in 2017 if he's fully healthy that entire season and continues to hit the way he was, especially as he heated up as the season went on. To me, Wilson Contreras has the best offensive season of any Cubs player. That is my bold prediction going into 2021.
It's a strong one. I like it.
I like it.
It's got to be bold. You gotta switch it up a little bit. And I'm here for Willie raking. I can proudly say I was at the game when he hit his first home run to that pinch hit at bat on Father's Day back in 2016. Moment. I was at that game. I remember seeing him come in. I'm like, oh, that's right. I forgot I saw that he got called up. I can't believe they're giving him an opportunity here. And I remember him hitting that ball. And I was with my buddy who. He's not a huge baseball fan, but he loves going to baseball games with me, so I always take him with me. And I like freaked out and I like grabbed him and shook him, and he was like, "I swear to God, if you ever do that to me again, I'm gonna smack you." But I was like, dude, I was just so excited because I was like,
"Don't bring him to games anymore."
Oh, I can't not though. He's one of my best friends.
Yeah, but like that's just such a rude reaction.
Juan Soto,
emotions, damn it.
Juan Soto. I feel like. Hold on, I hate to derail this entire conversation.
Sorry, John Brooks cracks me up here. Tatis's fifth on the list. Juan Soto is the favorite. Read a book, Joe. Okay. I like
Johnny Brooks. Johnny Brooks is he is a friend of On Tap. So
no, I know. I'm not offended by that. What he said. It's funny. I was just good. Guff, and he came right back at me. Good for John.
I feel like honestly, a lot of people forget how good Juan Soto is, and maybe that's just him playing in DC. It honestly could be. I feel like Anthony Rendon was kind of the same way. I think that's a perfect comparison because arguably he was the best third baseman in all of baseball, at least offensively, even above Arenado at times. And like just nobody spoke about him because he played in Washington. And then all of a sudden he becomes a free agent. They win a World Series and everybody's like, oh, Anthony Rendon's the best. And it's like, yeah, where were you 3 years? He's been doing this shit since like 2016, bro.
What is happening with Juice, by the way?
He keeps coming in and out. I think it's his internet.
Is it his internet? Okay. His internet.
Yeah.
Or maybe he just hates us. Or maybe he's got to like sneeze or something and doesn't want
I don't know. Made me laugh. Hey, Juice, what's up, buddy?
Dude, my Swiss cheese internet tonight. The worst.
Swiss cheese.
You need that Ethernet, bro.
That's why I just switched to. I'm in the Ethernet now.
I know. Right. Next show, we'll get there.
Amazon 20. It's like $15, bro.
I know.
Juice wall pitching $5.
One of them. I just too lazy to plug it in. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll buy you an Ethernet cord. That'll be our opening day gift.
we'll just GoFundMe on the page.
The Juice GoFundMe. Help Juice's internet so it's not like Swiss cheese. Love
bad today. Usually it's not like this, as you guys know.
That's true. Normally it's just Juice walking around his entire place and showing us all his various
hanging out with my Alexa.
Yes. Is Alexa doing okay? I meant to ask you about that. Is she okay?
Alexa's got a new saying, but we'll wait for her for next week because it's I don't want to. It's probably going to drop in the middle of her talking anyway.
Love it, Joe. I know you didn't get to experience the joy of being on the last episode, but Juice's Alexa unit went to St. Louis and she said she absolutely fucking hated it. So that was awesome. An absolutely magical moment. But gentlemen, we have been at this for almost an hour and 20 minutes now. It's been great conversation. We're obviously all excited. Spring training. That is the next time spring training in the fucking rearview mirror. Fuck spring training. We are talking real Cubs baseball starting April 1st. That'll be the next time you hear from us here at Cubs on Tap. We will be back with our regular everyday shows after every game. But gentlemen, I'll turn it quickly over to each of you to get some quick final thoughts before we close this thing down.
Yeah. So I guess my final thoughts for this show, a big shout out to my new favorite baseball player, Max Bain, in the Cubs system. One, because he's been on Sky is Falling. He's also been on this podcast as well. This guy, I've been saying it for like months. This guy he is going to be something. This guy was throwing like 94, 96, somewhere in that range, like a year and a half ago. He's now upped it to like 99. And I know I'm one of those guys who likes the soft tossers, whatever. I love his work ethic. He posted a video today working out and shit. And it got me amped. I was sitting at my desk at work and I was just like I wanted to run through a wall after I watched it. So I'm like his biggest supporter. So Max, if you're listening, watching, whatever, man, if you're in South Bend, I'm coming to see you. So, yeah, that's my final thoughts.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, I'll quickly jump on because I can piggyback off that. Yes, Max is awesome, friend of the show. We're huge supporters of his. Can't wait to see what he does. I agree with you, Cody. If he's in South Bend, I actually am hoping that this group of 4 of us that are on this podcast right now can do a South Bend weekend at some point this season. There should be a lot of great top prospects playing down there, so we can do a lot of fun coverage. Obviously, it'd be a great opportunity for all of us to hang out. I've had the pleasure of hanging out with Juice and with Cody, but Joe, I cannot wait to hang out with you. That is up there for 2021 goals, especially for the Cubs season. Hopefully, we can take in a Cubs game too.
Very striking in person. So
I mean,
the jawline.
I was gonna say you're striking on Skype and StreamYard, so I can't wait to see what it's like in person. But no, my final thoughts, man. I'm just excited for Cubs baseball. I'm excited for the Cubs 2021 season, but I'm also excited for Cubs on Tap in 2021. I'm really excited. I think we have a great group, the 4 of us. We also have great other guys that'll be you'll hear from throughout the season. Guys like Justin Wasik, guys like Joe Maris, guys like Marty Laval, who we got to hear from Mr. Tin Tidwell in some of our comments tonight. So we have a great group here, and I can't wait to get rolling into 2021, guys. It's going to be an absolute blast.
I'll just say, check out my YouTube channel. The views are down, so I need some more people to check it out. Monetize that channel. So I need you guys
shameless plug.
Skip ad. You can just skip the ad as long as you click on the video. I think it counts for something. Over 3 hours of stand-up comedy. But as always, just go Cubs. I want everyone to enjoy the ride. Baseball's back after getting only 60 games in 2020. Let's really appreciate every one of these games. It could be a roller coaster of a season. It could be great. I think the Cubs are really going to surprise some people. David Ross, I really think the guy is going to be, when his managerial career is all said and done, is going to be one of the greats. And I think enjoy the ride. It's baseball. There's going to be some series where you're like, do we just lose to the Pirates 2 out of 3? Yeah, that might happen, but that happens every year. Bad teams beat good teams all the time. Enjoy the ride. Be thankful and grateful that we've got Cubs baseball, and be good to each other.
Well said. Juice?
Yeah, real quick before my Swiss cheese internet runs out or the mouse stops pedaling for a second.
I'm muted him right now.
Wait, I'm muted?
No, I'm kidding. I'm
It's like, oh shit. So it'd be I hope that everybody enjoyed the podcast. You know, I obviously enjoy getting on with all you guys talking Cubs baseball. Hoping that this year the Cubs, like Joe said, surprise us. We can have some fun times around here, and obviously some very frustrated ones as we've had for the last couple of years. I will say this: thanks for anybody who listened and participated. We love that here. Here at On Tap, make sure you guys are following all the accounts, making sure you're getting all your sports and literature needs. And I'll end with a fuck St. Louis, and have a great day.
That's perfect. I can't beat any of that any of you guys said. Once again, we are Cubs on Tap, and gentlemen, without further ado, the next time we all will be on a mic, or any of us will be on a mic talking Cubs baseball, it's going to count, and it's opening day. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us. This was Cubs on Tap Live, and we will see you after the Cubs take on the Pittsburgh Pirates on April 1st on opening day. Boys, let's go Cubbies.
Go Cubbies.
Let's go Cubs.